Greetings everyone of every living status, either dead, alive or undead. Welcome to Black Haven, a necromantic dating sim. In Black Haven, you're a former scholar and one of the last survivors of a plague that's destroyed the world you used to know. Link is in the description where you'll be able to purchase this game for yourselves. We played the demo of this game, but I do want to see where we are when it comes to the demo portion. 3 days. It's been 3 days since you arrived at the library of Gizeron, and you can already feel your body dying, 1 inch at a time. Your fingertips have become dull and black, and you can't seem to get enough air into your lungs. Across your skin, isolated black splodges have merged together, becoming a living tapestry of cancer. Oh dear. As you fervently rifle through the sleeves, searching the ancient spines for books on diseases, your mind begins to slip in and out of consciousness. Minutes and hours pass in a blur, until finally you collapse against the shelves and roll onto your back. You look up at the cavernous roof of the library, hung with thousands of tiny fireflies float between the spikes of rocks, casting dim light on the shelves below. This library used to be one of the ancient wonders of the subterranean land known as the Sunless Kingdoms, but now it's just a pile of moldy paper. You've heard that they tried to seal the entrances to the underground when the plague began, to keep out the infected. It had given the artificers enough time to craft the first filter masks, but it wasn't enough. The plague still made it down here. Now the only ones left alive are people like you, resistant to the disease although not immune. Remember, there's a difference between resistance and immunity. One is partial, the other is total. Your mask has kept you from breathing in more of the disease, but it can only help so much. Even worse than the cancerous plague spreading through your body, however, are the memories. There was a time when you were just beginning your studies as a scholar of immortality at Itzon Academy, Everything was so bright, so promising. And then Nurgle came in and gave everyone his pestilence and decay. You close your eyes. When you open your eyes again, there's a bit of a very quick transition. There's no in-between session there. You're sitting in front of a desk in a sunlit room. Scrolls hang from the walls, each one featuring illustrations from ancient manuscripts on immortality. A black pot of tea is sitting on the desk, and across from you sits Rue. Hello, she's dressed the way you last remember her, down to the gold elaputs on her shoulders. I don't know how to pronounce that word either. Uniform for instructors of Itzon Academy. Rue shuffles some papers around, her gaze refusing to meet yours. We are literally the only 2 people in this room, and yet you refuse to meet my gaze? Slowly, the memory falls into place. This was your first day as an initiate at Itzon. The day you would meet your mentor and speak about your course of study. You had been so nervous to meet your new mentor. You had expected someone wise, older, and confident. Rue is none of those things. Uzo? Rue's voice jerks you out of your thoughts. How are you finding the academy? Well, I almost died, so I'm kind of hanging in there. It's big. It's kind of confusing to find my way around, but I'm getting the hang of it. I think I'm getting the hang of it anyways. Also, be on the lookout for, save anomalies. I see. Rue shifts in her seat. She rearranges your documents again, as if buying time before saying something else. You remember you fought all those years ago. She's too young to be an instructor here, much less your mentor, but alas, life has a way of, warping things out of control. Still, They told you that she would be the one mentoring you for your first year. What subjects are you most interested in studying? You don't remember what you told her back then. What did you want to study? What did I want to study? Maybe some kind of physical augmentation. The study of physical augmentation is the art of enhancing the mortal body. This can include the bones, muscles, organs, and senses. Those who practice this art take pride in pushing the human body to its absolute limits. Try to remember the other areas of study, or this is what I no, this is definitely what I studied, okay? You remember learning about physical augmentation when you were a teenager, but it didn't save me from the plight. Back when a mage in training and his partner had visited your old master for a demonstration. We had an old master? The mage first shed his robes, revealing a chiseled body covered in a dense mosaic of enchantments inscribed in black ink. As you watched, he took up a stance on one side of a room while his partner opened a polished wooden box. From the box, the man's partner lifted a steel wheel lock pistol. You remember being enraptured as the mage's body tensed, his muscles coiling and uncoiling like snakes on a plane as his partner loaded the pistol. Before the shot, you realized that the mage's eyes weren't human. They were slitted, like those of a hawk. The pistol fired and the mage's hands became a blur. Before you knew what had happened, he was laughing and holding up the grape-sized steel bullet, which was still steaming. That was the moment you knew you wanted to study the art of physical augmentation. You suddenly realize that you've been lost in thought for a few seconds and that Rue has been looking at you the whole time. Very rude to not meet one's own gaze, even though she didn't meet our gaze earlier. Physical augmentation. Oh, well, we have an excellent curricula for that. You seem very new to this mentoring game. A servant arrives to pour both of you tea, but then they realize I'm a coffee connoisseur and decides to give me coffee instead. No, I'm just kidding, that's just me. And you're left in silence. They fill your cups. Unless it's poisoned, I would happily accept a cup of tea. You sip your tea slowly, remembering how you want to make it last back then. Anything was better than continuing this extremely awkward conversation. As you can probably tell by the fact that the name of the game has a Necromantic Dating Sim in the title, could we possibly be dating those who are not quite alive? When you sat down your cup, you see Rue drop her gaze. She was clearly watching you sip your tea. Instead of speaking, she begins fiddling with a small piece of paper. Unsure of what to say, you instead look out the window at Itzon Academy's beautiful campus and reflect on your time there. You were nervous when you first stepped foot in Itzon. You weren't from a wealthy or famous family, and this was supposed to be an elite academy. Of course, in certain parts of the world, the only way in which you can get your foot in the door is if your background is somehow covered with titles and self-proclaimed accomplishments, in which makes you more worthy than the other person who obviously has more, but because of your name or wealth or stature, it means you are automatically in. It's called an unfair world. From the first time you meet your classmates, you felt awkward and out of place. People looked at you differently, and you hoped you could live up to expectations. Nah, we have our own expectations. It is called submarine low. But when you look back on your memories of Itzon, you remember the pleasant things most clearly. You hear a soft ripping sound and look over at Rue, who has clearly ripped a piece of paper along a straight line. She freezes when she sees you looking at her and begins to speak rapidly. One of the interesting things I discovered when studying here is the paper lotus problem. Have you heard of it? The paper lotus problem. No. No, what is it? The idea is that when you fold a paper lotus, you will never perfectly align the folders, and each floor will have a ripple effect on the next fold. Are you trying to say that there are multiple iterations as to how the paper lotus can be folded? It could mean that this has multiple timelines of this game, just like what a visual novel has anyway. Anyways, in the end, one floor can change the outcome of the entire lotus. If you know how, you can see or at least recognize a person by the flaws in their lotuses. So what you're saying to me is that you can work out my entire personality and my DNA just by the way that I fold my lotuses. What if I on purpose don't fold them the way in which I would normally want to fold them? Because those flaws reflect their individual soul as expressed through their physical form. Physical augmentation. Am I right or am I right? She quickly folds the lotus, smoothing the creases and rotating the paper as you watch. Finally, a pristine paper flower rests on the desk. I'm going to need a magnifying glass to look at each individual fold. You inspect the flower from different angles, trying to spot some kind of asymmetry. It looks perfect. Because it's not. If you magnify your vision, you'd see the tiny imperfections. The more you magnify it, the bigger those flaws would seem. Well, can anyone fold a perfect lotus? Exactly. Just like how nobody can draw a perfectly straight line without using a ruler. That's the important question. Just because there's just too much human error. For anyone to obtain perfection in any form, even in something as small as a paper lotus, they would need to align their body, mind, and soul with the principle of perfection. But guess what? There's no such thing as perfection, even though people always try to pursue it. In that moment, they would become perfect, at least in a sense. Maybe you could attain that for a moment, but eventually you'd need to return to your normal flawed state. Like entropy. I think there's always a peak, but there's not always a perfection where you always stay at that peak. Slowly, old concepts rise from your memory, the principle of perfection, entropy, and metaphysical symmetry. You haven't thought about all those things in years. At the time, though, you didn't know what Rue was talking about. Instead, you just asked for a piece of paper. Can I have a piece of that paper? Oh, sure. Well, were you going to use it then for something, Rue? Were you going to use it for something important? Like folding another piece? She hands you a piece, and you gaze at the designs dyed into it. It's cloth-like paper, the kind that gets a little stiff when you fold it. You start to fold it in half, then stop. You haven't learned how to fold a lotus yet. Originally, you tried something different. I'm going to try and make a paper plane. You take a small, sharp knife out of your pocket and start to cut lines into the paper. As you cut, you keep talking. I hope you don't, yeah, I think there can be beauty in our flaws. Exactly. I don't think that there is such a thing as a perfect person. I think there's always beauty in flaws. She frowns. You didn't like that. There's nothing beautiful about flaws by nature. If they were beautiful, they wouldn't be flaws. On the contrary, if everything was perfect, then there would be no question about it, and we would even question ourselves. I don't think that's right. To my old master, a perfect teacher would be authoritative and professional. Those type of teachers make me nervous. If you came in here acting that way, I probably would have been intimidated. But instead, we're just sitting here like two normal people. And that makes me feel a lot more comfortable with you being my mentor. You look up and smile bashfully at Rue, who opens her mouth to speak. Instead, she breathes out a sigh of relief and smiles. I'm glad to hear that. I've never taken on students before, and this is not my usual... I'm not usually comfortable with teaching new people. So what you're saying is you're only comfortable with teaching familiar people. Rue watches you slice the cuts into the paper. After a minute, she speaks again. If you're trying to cut along the fold lines to circumvent the problem with inexact creases, it doesn't work. You smile and don't say anything, remembering how the pattern of cuts went. When you finish, you unfold the paper and reveal an intricate little snowflake. Rue's eyes rise and she holds out her hands. You give her the snowflake and watch her face light up with a smile. I never thought of cutting it like this. It's the same sort of ripple effect. One little cut affects the whole design, right? And when you fold up a bit of paper to cut a snowflake, it means that every single edge has the same cut. She looks up at you and nods. Yes, this is exactly what I was talking about. Do you? Can I keep it? Sure. Rue looks down at her paper lotus and picks it up with her fingertips. You can have this. You take the lotus in your palm and cradle it, looking at it from all angles again. No matter how hard you look, you can't see the flaws in it. Thank you, Master Okazi. Oh, you can just call me Rue. I'm not a master quite yet, but yet you are my mentor. Therefore, you are my master. The lotus feels so small, so delicate in your hands. It would only take a tiny amount of force to crush it. But that makes you marvel at it even more. Exactly, it's like another timeline. What if you did crush the lotus? Or what if you didn't crush it? When you look up from the lotus, you find Rue looking back at you. She hurriedly looks down. Embarrassed? Oh dear. After speaking with Rue, it's time for your first session of martial arts, which was required for initiates. It sounds like that is part of our physical augmentation memories. You'd never done much physical exercise as a scholar, so you were a bit nervous. I don't do much physical exercise to begin with. Sitting on the hard wooden floor in your new workout uniform, you watch your new chief instructor enter and survey the class. My name is Master Itzon, and I'll be your guide to the intricacies of physiomancy for the next several years. Some of you already know me here at Itzon. Our classes contain a mix of new students as well as the experienced. We believe in a holistic education, one where even beginners have something to teach their elders. Exactly! As Master Itzon drones on, you notice that one girl's gaze never wavers from his face. Her back is as straight as a post, and her face is deadpan dead serious. When Itzon calls for a volunteer, the girl's arm shoots up, her jaw set and her eyes steely. He points at her and motions for her to approach. The human body contains hidden depths and subtle dimensions of power. In this class, we explore these depths hands-on. Don't you mean head-on? For example, when I ask Initiate Itzon here to attack me, he motions for a girl to advance, and she rushes him with surprising velocity. She throws a punch, but in the blink of an eye, her feet leave the floor and her whole body is launched over Itzon's shoulder as he grips her arm and throws her. She lands hard, but she manages to get her legs under her and leap to her feet, apparently unfazed. I don't think the demo had this portrait of this man in front of us. Definitely with the girl on the right here. Master Itzon nods to her, and the girl sits back down. When it comes time to pair up for the first exercises, you swallow hard when Itzon pairs you with that same girl. I don't think we're quite up to the task. Zaki Ito. Uzo Zini. The girl just nods and flexes her fingers. The first exercise is meant to loosen the wrists and starts with both partners clasping each other's forearms, one partner with their palms up, the other with their palms down. Yep. You watch Zaki tighten the bandages on her arms and lay out her hands palm up. You gingerly grip her arms and her fingers wrap around yours, gentle but firm. You notice that the skin above her bandages is covered in green, black, and blue splotches, deep tissue bruises. When you raise your eyes to her, she has that same dead serious look you saw before. Just don't think about it. Whoever has their hands on the bottom rotates their wrist. She lets go of your arm, moves her hand to the inside, then grips the top of your arm, forcing you to flip your arms over. And then you do the same. You mimic her movements by twisting your wrist, moving it to the inside of her arm, and then wrapping your fingers around her arm. You watch her hands make the motion again, her fingers spreading out and closing like the wings of a bird. What kind of bird does that? Don't look at your hands, look at me exactly, because that's where the target is. Not the arm, but the person. Startled, you raise your eyes to hers again. She has deep blue eyes, and you can tell all of her focus is on you. Don't be romanticized. When you get more experience, your hands will do this automatically. Muscle memory. It becomes an instinct. You won't hesitate. You just do it naturally. Like breathing in and out. Have you done that recently? You better do so. Or drink a glass of water. Have you done that recently? Well, you should do that. You gaze into her eyes, feeling your fingers moving against her skin. You can feel her palms getting sweaty. But Zaki doesn't seem to care, because this is an exercise and we are all on the same boat. How long have you been a student here? 2 years. She says the words gravely, as if she's telling you how many years she has left to live. What's that kind of, backstory there? Whoa, so what's your focus of study? Physical augmentation. Those are the memories of my own, studying. Her eyes never leave yours, and it's starting to get to you. You've learned to avert your gaze from people's eyes, but here, yeah, you keep your eyes concentrated on your partner at all times in this martial arts scenario. Get your eyes off of them, and it's going to be a swift and fatal brutality for you. It seems like Zaki doesn't even care that she's staring at you. What's augmentation training like? She remains silent for an uncomfortable amount of time. Her hands still rotate around your arms. It's strangely hypnotic. Have you ever treaded water? Yeah, I've treaded water. Here, they have you tread water with a heavy brick in your arms, so you can only kick with your feet. It forces you to just keep your head above the water. Bloody hell! You're trying to teach us just to not be a submarine. When you get good at that, they give you another brick. With 2 bricks, the only thought in your head is trying not to drown. Exactly. Sometimes what you're given is to not be at the top of the food chain, but not be at the bottom. Your head spends most of the time below the water instead of above it. What you can do is break water, take a quick gulp of air, then go back down. That's what augmentation training is like. You give a nervous laugh, but Zaki doesn't smile. It seems like she's inspecting your soul, 1 inch at a time. Let's not talk about those bruises. You've never done any hard labor like farming or rough work, right? I guess not. How can you tell? You expect her to say, I saw it in your eyes, from how intently she's been staring at you. Or maybe it's because of the lack of bruises, the lack of muscles. Something along those lines. You imagine that she's been piecing together your entire life story. Sorry, piecing. Your hands are soft, except your fingertips. Did you play an instrument? Ah, it's endurance training. I think that's what she's trying to refer to. I did. Just a bit of violin as a hobby. How many years? 3 years, I think? Zaki keeps circling your wrists with her palms. You try to pay attention to the way her fingers grip and let go. The only things worth having need a lifelong commitment. That's my only advice. That's enough warming up. Time for the next exercise. And what would that be after not flexing, but getting ourselves stretched. As Zaki lets go of your wrist, your arms fall back to your sides, and you're left with a ghostly feeling of her palms and the sweat cooling of your skin. And what is that? After the martial arts session, you headed to the bathing chambers to wash off the sweat and change back to your scholar's uniform. Also, what's with the red eye on the bottom right-hand screen there? Not the very bottom right-hand corner, sorry, but I'm just talking about one glowing in red. You remember your next session was your first course in anatomy. As you walk into the room, Master Itzon hands you an apron, a pair of cloth gloves, and a porcelain mask to secure around your mouth and nose. You put all of them on and stand against the wall with the other students whose eyes are fixed on the 12 table seats in a row. Each one has the corpse of a deer on it. The stench of rotting meat manages to penetrate your mask, make you gag a little. Yeah. Ever remember those kind of science experiments at like high school or secondary school where you actually literally had to do that kind of thing, and some of the students are just freaked out? I think there's others like me and a few others were more inquisitive as to like the inner makings of an animal, or it was more or less more like a rabbit, honestly, not a big one like a deer. The human body is a wondrous and complicated thing, more complex than any clock and more elegant than any work of art. Each organ has its place in the body. When you arrived at Itzon, you were told that each class of students would learn from only one master for their first 5 years. According to them, each master was expected to have perfected their knowledge of all 3 areas of study: physical augmentation, artificial vessels, and regeneration. Behind your mask, you grimace at Itzon's condescending way of talking. You dread having to listen to this man for 5 more years. Why is that exactly? When he's finished with his lecture, he begins pairing pupils up and assigning them to a table. Are we going to have the same partner that is Zaki, or is it going to be someone different? You're paired with a freckled girl who has red... Okay, so definitely not the same partner. And long pale fingers. She's pushed her hair back so it hangs behind her shoulders, but loose strands seem to keep getting in her way. As Itzon begins going over the tools at your table and the procedure to remove the deer's organs, the girl picks up a small short knife. Small and short. You watch in amazement as she makes one clean cut down the center of the corpse's stomach, just deep enough to slice through the hide. I suppose this is not your first time in this sort of activity. The deer's muscles are laid bare, and the girl begins making lines of short, precise cuts where the different muscle groups connect. But don't date this particular individual if she's a yant. You lean over to whisper to her, hoping Master Itzon doesn't notice. What are you doing? We're supposed to wait until he... That's boring. I already know all this stuff. Here, hold this. Great, she hands you the knife stained with congealed blood and a yellowish fluid. She then picks up a stack of wooden trays and spread them across the open table. I'm going to remove the heart. I want to see the little chambers and flaps. Initiative Borvexia. Is there a problem with your specimen? Oh no, we're good. It's a good deer. Then I'd appreciate it if you refrained from speaking while I'm speaking. Oh yeah, sure, sorry. Exactly. As Master Itzon drones on, you watch the girl fidget impatiently with the tools laid out in front of her. Finally, the lecture is over and you're free to start examining your deer. Oh dear. The red-haired girl immediately grabs a different knife and picks up where she left off. You look like you're a little sick. This your first course in anatomy here? Yeah, I've never done anything like this before, and honestly, it reeks every vein in my body. The girl slides her hand between the organs and pulls out a pile of intestines, which she hands to you. You immediately drop them on one of the trays. Totally green, huh? Thought so. Once you get over the blood and stuff, it's easy. If you say so. Yes, if you get over the blood. I've heard that once we're 5th year students, we get to start working on our own bodies. I've always wanted to be a little taller. Are you trying to add parts to yourself so that you can grow? Isn't messing with your own body kind of dangerous? You watch the girl deftly separate the organs from one another and sever the arteries connected to the heart one at a time. Only if you don't know what you're doing. Okay, let's see. What was your name again? Oh, right, sorry. She sets the heart on a tray and swings her head to get all of her hair behind her shoulder again, then reaches out with a gore-covered glove. You can call me Lacey. What's your name? I'm Uzo. Nice to meet you. I'm studying artificial vessels for the soul here. I'm guessing you know a lot about surgery and stuff, huh? Yep. I spent a lot of time studying anatomy before I got here. I heard the students here were really serious, but it seems like most of them don't like getting their hands dirty. She turns to you, her green eyes seeming to focus on you for the first time. What about you? Do you care about getting your hands dirty? I do, but I know that at the end of the day, I will have clean hands. It doesn't bother me. Lacey smiles at you with bright white teeth. It's not the fact that it doesn't bother me, but I just know that they're going to be clean at the end of the day. She lifts the hem of her school jacket, and also just wash your hands thoroughly, exposing her bare, freckled hip. A row of stitches runs across the skin just above her kidney. A row of stitches? Me neither! She starts to slice open the deer heart, her knife following the contours of the muscles. You want to just put your hand right here? She guides your hand so that it's gripping half of the heart. You hold it steady as she works, and soon the entire organ is laid out like a peeled orange. Lacey starts pointing out the different structures of the heart. The ventricles, the chambers, and the channels of for the blood. Deer hearts are almost identical to human hearts, but they're bigger. Isn't that crazy? Something with 4 legs and a bunch of fur. Yep, the same heart. I thought you said they're almost identical, like 95, 99% identical, not completely. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So if you get somebody who is somehow 9 foot tall, they could probably fit the deer heart in them. You know, pigs' hearts are even more similar to ours. You can even use them for transplants. Wow, that is crazy. She puts your apron just above your heart. After 10 minutes, Lacey finishes emptying the chest cavity of the deer. Wait, we're going over the entire deer? You look around at the rest of the students and find that some of them have barely progressed beyond separating the muscles with their knives. I wish they could have given us something interesting. Oh my god, like a cow. Deer are so simple. Cows have like 4 stomachs. And bizuers too. You can't help but look at the gory tableaus spread across your table and admire Lacey's skills. Not to mention exuberance. Despite some pools of blood and fluids, everything's laid out neatly on the trays as if you were baking a morbid cake. Yep, a fairly suitable necromantic cake that is made out of flesh. But still, there is somehow flour and sugar, well not sugar, but flour involved. And baking powder. Watching her do all this with genuine excitement and non-Holland makes you... Wait a minute, baking powder's for bread, what am I going on about? Makes you feel like this wasn't such a big deal. Maybe all that dread and disgust was all in your head. Yeah, exactly, it's all psychological. And when you open your eyes, the smell of blood meat still lingers in your nostrils. Overhead, you can see the fireflies floating between the stalactites of the Library of Gizeron, a brother of Megatron. You can feel the hard stone floor beneath your back. You hear something wet moving and feel something sting your chest. The smell of blood is stronger. Are we going to have another faint? You're awake. Unfortunate timing for both of us. Oh, hi there. Something looms over you. A person. They're wearing a smooth, shiny metal helmet that covers their whole head. It looks like it's been molded to fit their skull, and it has no eye holes. A complete set of human teeth has been built into the jaw of the helmet, giving it a terrifying grin. You raise your head from the ground and look down at your chest. Your jacket and shirt have been sliced down the middle. How? And you can see that the skin once covering your chest has been peeled and pinned back with silver pins, like a butterfly on a board. Just some friendly advice here. Try not to scream. I was in the process of removing your lungs, and screaming is going to be, well, it's not going to be good for you. Who? What? You start trying to push yourself up on your elbows, but the figure pushes you gently back down. I thought I checked your pulse, but it looks like I was too hasty. In the haze of panic and horror, a thought occurs to you. If this man is operating on your chest, he would have seen your heart pumping, wouldn't he? My heart. You should have seen I was alive. Oh, this? The man picks up a small wooden box and lifts a blood-smeared heart out of it. You let your head fall down, back down to the floor. This guy knew you were alive. He just didn't care. Just kill me already. Harvest my organs. Whatever you want, I deserve it. Well, you're taking this better than I could have hoped. But I feel compelled to ask, do you want to die? I don't want to talk about it, okay? It's a rather personal matter, and the sooner we get this over with, the sooner the pain can stop. Well, you've got about 2 minutes left before your body realizes it should be dead. I think that's long enough for a story. You look at his eyeless helmet blankly. The memories of your time at the academy flit through your head. Rue, Zaki, Lice. There's no doubt in your mind that they're dead by now, Everyone you know is gone, killed by the plague. And it's all your fault? How is the plague our fault? I was the one who started the plague. Me and my mentor, Rue. Everyone is dead because of us. Now, that's a story I'd like to hear. You hesitate. You don't know this person at all, and digging up those memories now is almost more painful than dying. The something spurs you on. Maybe it's a deep-seated need to confess what you've done, or the desire to talk to someone, anyone, about what happened. Ruakazi, my mentor, she was researching how to regenerate flesh and grow it. She grew all kinds of organs, but eyes were her speciality. She was trying to find a way to make the body regenerate itself, so you would never age. But she was using herself as an experiment, and something went wrong. From there, the words begin to pour out of your mouth. As they do, a flood of memories comes with them. You've never told anyone the story of what happened. You never let anyone get close enough to you to tell it. And even if you did, the guilt was more than you could bear. But now, in our final moments, obviously that's not going to be a thing anymore. But now that you started, you can't stop talking about the 6 students, the Pyres, and above all, the hundreds of eyes. When you're done speaking, the man whistles inside his helmet. You know, I've ruined quite a few lives in my time, and most of them on purpose. But that's a drop in the bucket compared to you. You're an accomplice to an extinction. Only a few people in history can say that. Mind if I shake your hand? Just to tell people I've done it. Man offers his gloved, blood-stained hand. You look at his grinning helmet and get the feeling he's mocking you. You can call me No Eyes. It's a pleasure. You reach for his hand, but you're too weak to lift it high enough. No Eyes raises a finger as if remembering. Alright, all your organs. Sit tight, I'll get you some new ones. My compliments. No Eyes reaches into his satchel and begins lifting out carefully wrapped white packages stained with dark spots. I wonder what those dark spots signify. You said you were a student at Itzon Academy, correct? The epicenter of the plague? Yeah? I was under the impression that they studied 3 kinds of physical mancy there. Vessels, argumentation, and regeneration. Is that right? Yeah, they studied all 3. How did you know that? I thought about attending Itzon once, back when I was considering where to study. Wait, you're a physiomancer? I started as one. It shouldn't be a surprise. I did open you up like a pumpkin and scoop out all your guts, and you're still talking to me. Ah, right, yeah, necromancy. I learned enough of it to survive this nasty little disease you and your mentor crafted, but in truth, my preferred area of study is a little more esoteric, a bit more experimental. I don't usually mess with flesh anymore. What is it? Necromancy. You've heard of the term before, but all you can remember is that it's some obscured immortality practice having to do with heavy mathematics. Chrono meaning time. However, I've come to realize that no matter how talented or cunning I am, I'm still stuck in this devilish handsome body. And thanks to you, nobody is going to survive in this day and age for long. So that leaves me with only one option. Leave. Where are you going to go? Bad question. A better one would be to ask when I'm going. What are you talking about? No Eyes sighs and continues working on the organs in your ribcage. He silently hands you a small scalpel and motions for you to hold it. Every school of immortality fights against the march of time. Bodies decay, minds go mad. Everything fades in time, right? I'm not trying to fight time. I'm trying to slip through the cracks in it. So you are trying to fight time, but in a different way. For a moment, No Eyes seems to jitter in place, as if his body forgot, where it was and froze while trying to catch up with his movements. No Eyes finishes stitching up your abdomen and pats your chest. All better. New heart, lungs, kidneys, stronger ones too. Yours were disgusting. You lift your head and look down at your chest, then feel your torso. A line of fresh stitches run up your skin, still tender to the touch. There's no way someone could replace all those organs that quickly. With the power of, necromancy and other kind of stuff, I'm sure it's a walk in the park. It would take hours to get them all hooked up again, not a few minutes. Something is deeply wrong here. But you can't tell what. Their area of studies is necromancy after all, involving time. Alright, thanks. I'm gonna get going now. We're not done here. His words cut through yours like a scalpel, which you now realize is missing from your hand. I need you for something. What do you need me for? At this school you went to, you probably met some talented, knowledgeable people, right? Yeah. I need those people, or rather, they're ghosts, and you're going to go get them for me. Why do you need them? Aren't you a physiomancer too? I never actually finished my education in physiomancy. I abandoned it in favor of necromancy. I'm an excellent surgeon, but I neglected the other aspects, which in hindsight was a mistake, but now I have you. I'm willing to bet that your classmates' ghosts have the right combination of knowledge to create the kind of body I need. Your mentor sounds like the right kind of person, and I need people who understand physical augmentation and building artificial vessels. Do I have a choice in this? An interesting question. He leans down so his helmet is inches from your face. You feel something cold and sharp against your neck and glance down to see that his scalpel is pressed against your skin. I mean, after all I've done for you, it would be rude to refuse, wouldn't it? And if there's one thing I can't abide, it's rudeness. You know what? Just go ahead and kill me. Go ahead, kill me, I don't care anymore. Like I said before, I'm tired of being alive. But if I had to gamble on it, I'm betting you won't. Why not? I've slit a lot of throats in my time, and I liked some of those people. You, I can take or leave. Then you're gonna have to find someone else to get your ghosts for you. And I bet you want those ghosts a lot more than I want to keep living. No Eyes' helmet seems to stare at you for a few seconds. Then you hear him start to laugh. It crescendos until No Eyes is shaking with laughter, holding his helmeted head in one hand. Finally he calms down and looks at you. You're something special, kid. I like you a lot. So, you want a reason to live? Alright. Do you have any happy memories? Happy times in your life? For a moment you imagine the academy and the faces of Rue, Zaki, and Lice. Yeah, I have some happy memories. Why? Good. Now I want you to imagine the best day of your life. Imagine waking up, living through that day, and going to sleep again. And when you wake up, you get to do it all again. And when you get tired of that, you move to a different day. That's what I'm offering to you. You get me these ghosts, and I can make you your own happy little time loop. Time loop? What? Why a time loop? Why can't we just live our lives rather than doing a Dragon Ball Z method of constantly looping ourselves around to live the same thing over and over again? Once you're in there, you could do whatever you want, say something different, do something different, see how things would have played out. You furrow your brows. You've never heard of anything like what he's describing. You can do that? Absolutely. Necromancy is the art of reshaping time, and I am one of the only people out there who hasn't gone insane mastering it. This still sounds far too good to be true, but you decide to play along. Okay, I'm interested. But I want proof that you can do it. The loop thing. I want to be sure. Fine. You want a demonstration? Get up, pull up your sleeve. You get to your feet, grunting with pain from your stitches. You pull up your coat sleeve and No Eyes grips your arm with both hands, then mutters a spell under his breath. As you watch, a black design begins to etch itself onto your skin. A circle, then 3 circles inside of it. Then dozens more tiny circles filling the blank spaces inside. This is a little different, but it'll prove I'm not lying to you about my abilities. As long as you have this enchantment on you, all you have to do is save the game and go about your business. What if I just don't want to do that? And would there be dire consequences with the other option when it comes to saving the game? I mean, loading the game. Would it disrupt some kind of time loop, or the time loop I'm currently on? At any point, you can decide you don't like how things played out and load a saved game. How dare you? If you do, you'll be back where you were before. Go ahead, try it. Got it? No Eyes reaches into his satchel and pulls out an old, rusty-wheeled lock pistol, which he immediately levels at your head. Before you can react, he pulls trigger and you feel something hot and sharp pierce your forehead, then everything goes black. Of course, I would have to do that. What about if I reload it to this point? About to go ahead, try it. Yeah. What the? Okay. That is definitely a different there. That's definitely different. As you pull the trigger, you duck your head. Yeah, that's definitely different because we didn't duck our head last time. There's a loud crack and the bullets hit the books behind you, throwing up a cloud of dust. Nicely done. Looks like you found a reason to live. No Eyes puts away the smoking pistol and claps you on the shoulder. Now, if we're going to be partners in this little endeavor, I think we should be honest with one another. Honesty is the foundation of trust. Okay, what do you want to be honest about? I lied about replacing your heart. You clutch your chest trying to feel the beat of your heart instead of a steady river in your ribcage. You feel nothing. What then? How am I alive? Let's talk about that after you sign the contract, huh? No Eyes pulls a scroll from his satchel along with a ragged black quill. He unrolls the parchment, which is revealed to be blank. He whispers a few words, and the page fills with black spidery writing whose paragraphs begin to weave together like a miniature labyrinth. I've never liked handshake agreements. Too informal. Contracts are much safer for both interested parties. All you have to do is sign at the bottom. Do I want to sign at the bottom, though? That is the thing. It just says you're going to bring me the souls of 3 people who are educated in the arts of the artificial vessels, regeneration, and physical augmentation. 1 person for each discipline. In return, I will grant you the ability to move across your life's timeline, etc., etc. Your eyes run over the dense, cramped lines of writing. You're quickly lost in the complex web of footnotes and nested clauses. However, one passage catches your eye. Breach of contract. If a contractor violates their required terms, whether willingly or unwillingly, they cede control of their soul to the employer. Yeah, this sounds like we don't really have any free will. In such cases, the employer will use whatever means, magical or mundane, to collect the soul, which then becomes their sole property. What's the part about breach of contract? Just in case you have any second thoughts while out on your own, that won't be a problem, will it? No Eyes hands you the quill and you take it tentatively. Do I want to sign this though? You skim over the rest of the contract and your eyes come to rest on the header tilted compensation. The contractor will receive a custom-made enchantment created by the employer that will allow them to relive chosen periods within their life at will. But the choice of that is really... I don't know, if you ever had that kind of thing in your own life, being able to relive something physically again, it's like as if you've never really had the memories of then the future things that would happen because you've altered the past. I know there's something buried in this contract, something else that's going to screw me over. You've hidden it somewhere. That's paranoia talking, which, though admirable, is misguided. I could have screwed you over 6 different ways with our contract anyway. But we're friends, remember? If you sign that, we're both getting exactly what we want, and nothing less. You look at No Eyes for a few seconds, searching his words for any traces of subterfuge. You can't find any, but that just makes you more worried. Are you lying to me? No, I wouldn't lie to you. Well, not about this. His words sound sincere, almost melancholy. It's unexpected. You look down at the contract and sign your name, then hand it back to No Eyes. Thank you. You said that if we're going to do this, we have to trust each other. Can I ask you a question? Fire away. Can I go on to the next page? Here we go. I think we can do that. How many pages in total? Let's see. There's auto saves. There's quick saves. I think there should be plenty of pages, considering the fact that saving and reloading alters the timeline. Ask what he's going to do with the ghosts. Alright, so after I bring you these ghosts and you get what you need from them, what are you going to do with them? Well, I'm gonna get pretty hungry while I travel around for eternity, and crackers aren't going to cut it. What are you? You're going to eat them? Necromancy is hard on the soul, causes it to fray. I need someone else's soul to act as raw material to repair mine. It's like unraveling a tapestry and adding the thread to a rug, except the tapestry is still conscious. Is there pain? No Eyes laughs. Pain is tied to the flesh. All pain is just your body telling you that it doesn't like something. When your mind tries to make sense of being consumed, it tries to summon up the sensation of pain to get you to run, but all it gets is the cold, empty feeling. The mind really does the soul no favors. As more of the soul starts to drain out, the mind keeps trying to keep their ego together. It's like a guy who lost half his jigsaw picture trying to salvage the puzzle. He tries to force different pieces together, and that just makes it worse. I don't understand what you mean by that. When your soul is unraveling, your mind is spinning dreams to reassure you you're alright, but it keeps making nightmares instead. It's like having tinnitus in some ways. And to the person concerned, yeah, because they just keep coming back, those nightmares seem to go on forever. You know what a asymptote is? You're trying to remember the term. Yeah, it's a boundary that a line the graph approaches but never actually reaches. Exactly. As the soul unravels, it approaches annihilation, but it never quite gets there. It's fascinating, actually. So the person I bring you, they'll be living in an eternal nightmare while you eat them. Trust me, you won't care. As soon as we get you squared away, this whole reality is going to be a moot point. In this alternate world, the time loop version of my life, will all of those people be there? Even the ones I give you? Souls cannot be destroyed retroactively. Even if I eat them, it won't hurt them in the past. You feel a pain of guilt and terror at the idea of handing your friends' souls to be consumed, but the world you inhabit will be just as real as this one, and they'll be there waiting for you, safe and sound. Besides, being a ghost is already supposed to mean eternal torment. Trading one torment for another isn't that bad, right? Well, they do say that the devil that you have at the moment is better than the devil that you don't know, or don't want, actually. You don't want either, but the other one could be even worse. You shudder a little and push the thought far, far to the back of your mind. It's like saying, nah, you're not scot-free, my friend. You're just under different management. If he's telling the truth, then there's probably a dozen timelines where they're happy and safe. So it's alright if this one turns out badly. I would say it is best that we fix every single timeline, but guess what? There's an infinite number of them once you branch into the path of multiverse. It's already turned out badly. Alright. Anything else? Ask to know more about him. I want to know more about you. No Eyes chuckles to himself. About me? I've made it this far in life, but not by not giving anyone details about me or giving away anyone details about me or my. Anyways, I'm going off topic there, and I'm not going to start now. Why do you think I wear a mask? I told you about my past, and I haven't told anyone about stuff before. Besides, we're friends, aren't we? Fine. You want to know what I did after I learned Necromancy? I put a bullet in my head so I could relive my life. Not a little time loop where I was in control. I relived my whole life from birth. I did that 5 more times before I mastered Necromancy. Once I was finished, I went back one last time. I went and tracked down my old colleagues, the ones who ridiculed me and ruined me. I made them understand what I accomplished. Now those people don't exist anymore. They've never been born. I'm the only one that still remembers them. And sooner or later, they won't even have that. That's who I am. I see. Anything else? Ask what he's going to do with your friend's soul. We've already asked that, didn't we? What about ask you something strange? I believe we've already been through that scenario. Okay, no, nothing. Nothing else? Well, I'm glad we had this chat. I feel like we're closer already. He jitters in the air again, and you feel a weight suddenly appear in your chest. There's your new heart. See? I'm a man of my word. You admitted that you lied about replacing it. You want me to sign a contract first. What are you, a lawyer? You're the one who made me sign a contract. No Eyes raises a finger to object, then seems to think better of it. Touchy. For some minor indiscretions aside, I think you'll find that I am usually a man of my word. Yeah, whatever. Take this. You're gonna need it for the souls. He reaches into his satchel and tosses you a leather-bound book. I think it's a grimoire or something. Studded with steel fittings and a small worn lock. Grimoire? Best way to capture ghosts. If you can get them to touch one of the pages, it'll seal them inside. I want that back in one piece. Sentimental value. You look down at the grimoire, then back up at No Eyes. I did have one more question, actually. If it's about me or my past, I'm going to squeeze your lungs until you shut up. I never caught a ghost. I don't know how to do that. Really? I thought you were educated. I know there are rituals you can use to trap them, and some... No Eyes waves his hands dismissively. Real necromancers don't need those. Then how do they capture ghosts? They talk to them. They calm them down, lure them into trusting them, and then convince the ghosts to get in their grimoire. Ghosts want things. That's why they're still ghosts. Some want to forget the past, others want safety. And some of them just want a friend. Yeah, they're trapped behind because of the fact that they still have something which is but it's giving them a lot of unrest. You know these people, right? Your mentor and those former classmates of yours. Then you're halfway there. If they recognize you, trust you, then all you have to do is talk them into it. If that doesn't work, trick them, threaten them, scare them. They're just people after all, and people can be manipulated, just like you can also be manipulated. But ghosts can hurt you, and they're insane. They're not technically insane. They're deluded like most mortals are. It's a fine line. Some of them are wrapped up anxieties or passions or desires, and much of a necromancer's job is to feel those out and figure out how to turn them to their advantage. It's easier than it looks. One of the simplest ways to get a ghost to trust you is to bribe them with something they want. If you figure out what they like, you can revel them in that. Or if you're lucky enough to find their corpse, you can threaten it. Most ghosts still refuse to believe they're dead, so they'll try to defend their old bodies, and a lot of them get angry if you tell them they're dead, so be polite about that. I feel like this is something you'd be much better at. One last thing. I want to make sure this is crystal clear before we part ways. I'm your only hope at getting out of this reality, and you're mine. Remember that. It should be the last thing you think of before bed, and the first thing you think of when you wake up. I want out even more than you. And if you can believe that, if you double-cross me or try to renege me, try to renege, well, people like us, we understand the limits of the body, how much blood can be lost, how much pain can be endured. Eventually, the mind becomes divorced from the flesh. If Necromancy has taught me one thing, it's that time, not pain, is the real torture. When all you have is time, the mind begins to eat itself. It realizes it's trapped in that skull, and it wants to get out. It wants to stop being awake. Reality becomes more painful than anything I could do to your flesh. Is that why you have a metal head rather than a real one? So that in some ways you can endure any kind of physical harm in that kind of context. And I will make sure that you stay wide awake forever. That's what's waiting for you if you break our little agreement. Understood? Yes. No Eyes gives a short, bitter laugh. I don't think you do, but if you cross me, you will. Count on it. Now get going. I've got some books I want to track down while I'm here. If you need me, just write something in the grimoire. I'll write back when I get a chance. He'll write back? What does he mean by that? Maybe he has a copy of the same grimoire and we can telepathically write to each other. Alright, I'll head out. Then you gather up your bedroll, backpack, lantern, and the rest of your things while No Eyes browses the shelves. Once everything's been packed up, you heft your backpack and slip the straps over your shoulders. Goodbye, good luck, safe travels, farewell, and come back alive, or I'll kill you. How can you kill me if I'm already dead? You start walking down the aisle, looking up at the fireflies silently floating above your head. There's a question that's been nagging at you ever since No Eye suggested finding the ghosts of your mentor and classmates. You turn around and look back to where No Eyes was standing. What if they don't? Your words trail off as you gaze down the empty aisle. No Eyes is gone. All that's left is a feeling of dread deep in your gut. You dread having to face Rue, Zaki, and lies. What if they don't want to see me again? As you walk past the giant gates of the library, you find yourself facing the yearning dark of the cavern beyond. You kneel down and take up your lantern. After a few seconds of struggling to get the match to strike, it bursts into flickering lights and glints off the cobblestones beneath your feet. Well then, this kind of ancient-looking place is a good place to end off our episode. What's really unique about this tale is the fact that I do have to stop and obviously come back to this game at another time. But does loading back here alter the reality itself, or do I have to continuously have this game continuously going without like loading back into the game in order to get the one and only true timeline of itself? But then again, we couldn't do that because obviously we died by the pistol. Anyways, very interesting game so far. I'm looking forward to seeing what entails in the rest of this tale. That's if we do end up in a different timeline, that is. Or be in the same one that we load back in because of decisions not yet made when it comes to this particular tale, aside from the things over here. I'm not too sure now. Thank you all so much for watching. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there's a link down in the description below where you'll be able to access this game on Steam. And see you all in the next episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, people.